Your favorite fat boys.
Man, what it's like, bitch!
What's up, everybody? Your favorite fat boy, Jerron.
Stefan, aka Mayhem, aka the Rise of Super Negro, aka it's time for a reboot.
Rise Super Negro. So today we're doing another one of our hero talks, and we're going to talk about our review of Coming to America, the sequel, along with our thoughts about WandaVision, because that just wrapped up not too long ago, and the first episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
And I'm going to give my review of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Hey, you didn't watch it, so leave the reviews to me.
Good. I fell asleep 3 times, but we'll get to that. We'll come to that. What, Zack Snyder, you got it coming to you. Just know you got it coming to you. But let's start it off with Coming to America. I'll start off. Regarding what I thought about it. I enjoyed it. I like the overall movie itself. I think what's the lady's name? They played the mother. Help me out, stuff on. Was it Leslie?
Or Leslie Jones?
Leslie Jones. I think she pretty much stole the show for me. She had the best lines in the movie. I enjoyed her performance very much. The story was the plot was a little paper thin, but I think it served its purpose for being a movie that took place in '88.
Somewhere around that time.
It was
definitely
80s,
in the 80s.
88, but yeah, it was back in the 80s, and it's like 30 years later they decided to do a sequel, and it was funny. I chuckled a couple times, I smiled a couple times. The ending to me was the best part, where they had like the musical act and everything.
Right.
The barbershop scenes were funny. Eddie and Arsenio, they didn't lose a beat. So I had nothing but good things to say about it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I did laugh a lot. The story is paper fucking thin. I mean, and they just kind of rehashed the original Coming to America. And I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, Wesley Snipes stole the show because he was just fucking hilarious. So I
don't think people realize how funny. I don't think he hasn't done a lot. He hasn't done a lot of comedies.
Right.
I don't think people realize like how funny he is. Because I remember watching. It was like this little segment he did with. It was like Eddie Murphy, Chris Rock, Wesley Snipes, and maybe some other comedian. And Eddie was just like telling Wesley Snipes like how funny he is and his his comedic timing and everything like that. Like if he I guess at some part in his career, if he decided to do more comedy, he would have probably, I don't know, maybe more money, but I think people would have saw a different side of him, be like, oh, he can do both.
Right. Yeah. So overall, I can say that I enjoyed it for what it was. It had some parts that were just like, okay, that's weak. But the fact that they were able to get somewhere along the lines like 95% of the original cast, with the exception of a few people, some folks who were dead, but just to get the vast majority of the original cast, and then it had a lot of the main comedic beats from the first one, was definitely an enjoyable experience. Like I said, it's not the greatest movie in the world or the greatest comedy in the world, but it was definitely, I didn't hate myself for watching it.
Yeah. I looked at like the early reviews of what people were thinking. They were like, oh, this is boring, it's a waste of my time, it's not funny, it's not this, it's not that. And then when I looked at it, I'm like, I didn't get where they didn't like it, because given that it's 30 years has passed, not saying this is the best they could came up with, because I'm pretty sure they had different ideas that might have come across better, maybe, or different scripts that came across as maybe could have been better. But this, I think, was enjoyable. Like you said, you had most of the cast that came back. You used a couple new characters, like his daughters, his son, the mom, Tracy Morgan. but you still kept everything kind of centered in that universe of Zamunda lore and things like that. So, it wasn't too far fetched, given the 30 years that had passed.
Right. So, as far as a justifiable sequel goes, I don't know if it does that, if it can justify its existence, but it was definitely a movie that if it came out, let's say 2 years after the first coming of America, it would have still been just as funny. But the fact that 30 years have passed, I wouldn't say it justifies its existence.
Yeah, it's hard to say that this holds up just as well as the one that came out in 86, 88.
Right.
But like you said, if it came out like 2 years, or maybe like if it came out like in 1991, it probably would have been held up there in regards of just as funny. But since so many years have passed, it's like it's not a cash grab. They definitely wanted to treat this with respect to it.
Right.
And you can tell they did that. And I think it turned out well. They said they had different scripts from like Aaron Magruder, Ryan Coogler, from the director of Black Panther.
Yeah, Ryan Coogler.
So Coogler, and a couple other things as well. And they kept wanting to go back, to the essence of what made that movie funny. And I think they accomplished that. I don't know what people were looking for as far as what they were expecting or why they didn't like it, because nobody said why they didn't like it. They just kind of like, oh, it's not funny. This I don't like they like the sun, maybe something like that. But I'm like, what are your suggestions then? And I couldn't find any.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know whether or not it justifies its existence, but I most certainly enjoyed watching it. And when it comes to movies, as long as I enjoyed watching it and I'm not pissed off and want my time back after it's over, I am okay with that. So as far as Coming to America 2 goes, I am definitely okay with that movie.
Now, would you watch that? Would you watch Coming to America and then Coming to America back to back?
Are they both named the same thing? Huh.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Well, only difference is that in the sequel is a number 2.
Okay. I never realized that. Now I hate the movie.
One little thing, right? Just one little thing.
Right, that's all it takes. Yeah, I mean, actually, before I watched Coming to America 2, that's what I'm going to call it. I had watched Coming to America a few days before, just so I could look at it from fresh eyes. And Coming to America is still, as paper thin as the story is, still does hold up. And Coming to America 2 is, again, if it would have came out a couple of years afterwards, yeah, it would have been, laugh and a half. But in comparison to the first Coming to America, it's not nearly as good. But again, it's still an enjoyable movie.
Yeah. Yeah, and Eddie Murphy, he's had his share of good movies and bad ones as well.
Oh yeah, a whole lot of flops.
He's probably one of those actors that as many movies you like Eddie Murphy, it's probably just as many as ones you don't like of his as well.
Right.
And he came out with My Name is Dolomite. I think that was the kind of test the waters to see if he, if people enjoyed him still.
Right.
That movie was funny from top to bottom.
Yeah. Dolomite is My Name is definitely.
Dolomite's My Name. Okay.
It's definitely a hilarious movie.
Yeah. That worked. That was really good. And again, him and Wesley Snipes, good, great chemistry there.
Yeah.
So I think that was like the kind of the tester film. And I think you see a lot of actors doing that now, like Jamie Foxx. He's doing a couple movies, and it's like kind of get that feel like the people still enjoy me in a sense. Because he has a whole new series coming out on Netflix.
Yeah, a new sitcom. Don't Embarrass Me, Dad.
Mm-hmm.
Or Dad, Stop Embarrassing Me, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Hopefully that works out for him. It seems like Eddie Murphy, his star is rekindling. That fire is rekindling. So we'll probably see him in a bunch more things in recent years.
Yeah.
So good for him.
Yeah. So what would be classics or cult favorites like Coming to America that could be remade years later?
Remade or have a sequel?
Have a sequel.
And as I read this question and I was thinking about it, maybe it's the cynicism in me. if you only had one movie, maybe you don't need another one. But the only one that I was really thinking about as a cult classic that I could probably sit down and watch a sequel is UHF, the movie with Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh, okay.
You know, and he's running a television station. Like that movie is a cult classic. It's fucking hilarious. I loved it, and I could see a sequel. But the cynicism in me says, hey, you know what? If you didn't make a sequel some years after you made it, you probably don't need a sequel.
I think for me would be, and they already did it. They already did a sequel anyway. Would be Ghostbusters, and I would say like 1 and 2 was good. If they were going to do a third one, it would have to been in like somewhere in the mid or late 90s. Them doing the all women group, I didn't have a problem with, but it just wasn't entertaining to me.
Oh yeah, that movie is fucking terrible. All of the jokes fall flat. So it has nothing to do with the fact that they're women, because all of the women in that movie are funny, but just the story is terrible. All of the jokes fall flat. Yeah, that reboot was completely unnecessary. I mean, they are having a more direct sequel coming out. Well, it was supposed to come out last year, but you know, pandemic things.
Right.
Yeah, but they do have a more direct sequel to Ghostbusters 2, which is not nearly as good as Ghostbusters 1, but so we'll see how that goes about, you know, having a sequel 30 years later.
Right, and then it's like that came out what, like 4 or 5 years ago, that reboot.
Yeah.
And now you're coming out with a direct sequel. So it's interesting to see how that one plays out, because I probably won't be tied to the reboot at all.
Oh no, again, no, not at all. That reboot is its own thing.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with them, you know, necessarily doing like a reboot or a sequel in a sense, as long as it's done with quality. Because there's been talks about them doing Set It Off, a new like a reboot to Set It Off. There's been talks about them doing that, and doing a reboot on Scarface.
Right.
And you know, it's kind of like, it's not broke why it fits it. And plus those stories are kind of, you know, they open ended. You know, there was no room. I mean, it Set It Off, you could expound that story of what the character that Jada Pinkett Smith played after the fact. But like,
I mean, if you're doing a reboot, then it kind of doesn't matter what the previous characters did. Because you know that's the whole idea of the reboot, is that it's the same story or a similar story, but it's new. So the previous story doesn't really matter. It's not like they're doing some type of sequel for it. If they're doing a reboot or a remake, you can just say screw whatever those characters did, which is kind of the premise of Hollywood anyway. Tons of movies are just remakes of older movies. So I don't have an issue with remakes and reboots as long as the movie's good.
Yeah, well, a lot of times though, it's just a cash cow. Because like what they were doing with Transformers,
It was making them money.
Yeah, but after, what was the last one? Age of Extinction? No,
the last night. Well, technically, the last one was Bumblebee.
Well, that didn't need to be made because it makes no sense.
I mean, shit, none of them needed to be made.
Well, the last night, Age of Extinction, those didn't need to be made. Did not need to be made. But there was no need for Bumblebee, because like if you're resetting it, I get it. Rebooting it, I get it. But it's like nothing happened in that movie that made such a big difference that said like, this is where we're gonna go in this world from here on out.
And that's why the movie flopped. So hopefully they will have better ideas if they try to continue on with that franchise.
Well, I guess that's one thing good about the pandemic, is that they have been able to, work on that per se, to start filming in any kind of way, because that movie came out with 2018. So whatever plans they had, it's been halted because of the pandemic.
I mean, you would think that the pandemic happening would give writers and directors some time to kind of flesh out good ideas, but we still got shitty movies coming out. So
yeah, because they got made money. So oh well, that's gonna be Hollywood for the rest of their existence. They're gonna put out some good stuff. There's gonna be some shitty stuff along the way.
Right, so and Weird Al, if you listen to the podcast, I don't mind if you make a UHF 2.
Stefan would appreciate that.
I'm not gonna say I'm appreciated, but I wouldn't be mad if it happened.
Right. And what else we got here? So what you think about WandaVision?
I really enjoyed it. I will
As
say
did I.
that it's that whole homage to the sitcoms of yesteryear was done really well, and I really enjoyed it. And the
Mhm.
fact that they made Wanda is the real villain of the series, as opposed to some generic villain that was actually puppeteering the entirety of the series.
Yeah, I really enjoyed WandaVision. It definitely was a different take on the characters in the MCU and how they created this world for her in a sense that she was just grief stricken
Right,
with all the loss in her life, and this is how she kind of coped with the grief in order to to kind of continue with her life. And then and I like how they explain how the sitcoms came to be because her dad was selling I guess these DVDs or these these seasons of different shows, and this would give her comfort in her early part of her childhood, and then I guess right after Age of Ultron, this is how her and Vision start to connect. They were watching these old shows together, things like that. So it made you really feel for Wanda and as to why she kind of went off on the handle
right.
the way she did.
Yeah, so ultimately it is a story about grief and loss, and it handles it really well. I mean, granted,
Hmm.
it had to end the way Marvel movies end, whereas some villain with similar powers fights the hero who has those same powers, and big CGI battle. I mean, it had to end the traditional Marvel way, but in essence, it was a story of grief and loss and coming to terms with that. So, and
Yeah,
again, it was done very well, and the way that Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany handled each of the sitcom eras was done masterfully.
yes, like they had some really great acting chops,
Yeah,
uh, especially Paul Bettany, because I was just like, I he hit that Vision role, even though in the movies, you might not saw a big part of him his biggest turn was in Infinity War, but seeing him through these 9 episodes, you really saw the different ranges he has with this character.
right.
I definitely enjoy seeing him act and just seeing him interact and go through different things, throughout this series here.
So yeah, and I loved Catherine Hahn as Agatha because I love Catherine Hahn anyway. She's great. And Agatha all along is a fucking it's a bop. That's what the kids say.
That's definitely what the kids say, yeah.
They said, yeah, that song is a bop.
You can tell that the writers and the director or maybe directors they had a lot of fun with this series because they took a lot of I won't say they were risk per se, but they just did things that were really unconventional. I think with storytelling.
So yeah, I mean, at this point, you can't take a risk with Marvel MCU characters.
Right.
If they in it, it's gonna be big. But yeah, it was definitely I definitely appreciated the fact that it was far different than anything else that Marvel has done. They definitely had a very non-traditional way of storytelling.
So what do you think is next for Wanda and the Vision going forward?
Well, I mean, they made it a point to kill Vision, but not kill him, so that they can continue to use him. And it's already been confirmed that Wanda is going to be in the next Doctor Strange movie, which is the
Hmm.
Multiverse of Madness. So maybe it'll turn out that she's a more of an antagonist than a protagonist than that, based off of how her character ended up in the last, in the WandaVision series.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they're gonna play her out in that sequel. Maybe she might show up in the Spider-Man sequel,
Right.
maybe.
Possibility.
But it seems like Marvel is doing really well to not to like they acknowledge the multiverse, but they haven't delved quite into it. Just like with Spider-Man Far From Home, they said that when the creatures were coming from a different universe or a different portal in a sense, or from the snap, they they acknowledged it could be it, but then it was like all along that wasn't it at all.
Yeah.
Same thing with same thing with WandaVision here. Like her children and Fiedro didn't come from a different universe. That's something she conjured up herself. And it's Agatha as well. So
yeah, I mean, her children she created herself, but the fake Pietro was because of Agatha.
Right.
But I think Marvel is doing a good job of setting up a new tale to tell, because a lot of people were thinking that after Endgame, after the Infinity Saga, there was nowhere else for Marvel to go, that they might as well just pack it all up. But they are doing a really good job of setting up new stakes and a new story, a new wide range story that they can tell for their universe.
Right, and because the fact that they bring along Kang the Conqueror as the next big bad, with everything that happened in Infinity War and Endgame and WandaVision and what was going to happen in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, everything's going to have a consequence, and it's going to lead to Kang coming in and saying that this is why I'm here, because y'all done fuck shit up.
Right,
y'all done tamper with too many things.
So yeah, they're building up a good justification for their new next big bad.
Yeah.
And so and Kevin Feige we trust.
Trust more than them fools over in DCU. That's a whole number.
Right. We'll get to that.
So did you watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Yeah, I watched that first episode.
And what you think?
That was a definitely good episode for character building. So I understand the characters. I don't quite know the stakes or what's going on, but you can definitely see that they're building this to be the buddy cop show. This is definitely going to be far more straightforward than WandaVision was.
Yeah, because WandaVision didn't know what was going on in the first episodes.
So yeah, so they're definitely building this to be a buddy cop, more straightforward. Like the first episode was the backstory for our two heroes, who the title characters, and Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan definitely did doing a good job portraying the pathos of these two characters going forward after the end of Endgame and not the death of Captain America, but the end of Captain America.
Right, because they're not saying he died or hasn't died, but they're subtly saying that they moved on from Steve Rogers in the world. Right.
I mean, he was an old ass man, so there wasn't much he can do.
I like the fact that they had what's the man's name? Don Cheadle.
Yeah, it's War Machine.
What's his character's name? War Machine Rhodey. Character and Rhodey. I like the fact they're sprinkling in some of the other characters in these series, because in the movies you don't see him at all, unless unless later on.
They've done a good job of at least having some characters in these movies to justify the interconnectivity of their universe. Because in the Spider-Man movies or in like Ant-Man, they at least have one character to say, our universes are still connected. Mm-hmm. Like just like with WandaVision, they had James Woo, who was the FBI agent from Ant-Man. So they still have something to say that this is all taking place in the same universe.
Yeah, I liked the one thing I liked about the Falcon and Winter Soldier was for Anthony Mackie's character, when him and sis were trying to get that loan, he thought that his celebrity of being an Avenger might get him somewhere, but the bank teller was like, you haven't worked in 5 years. He's like, well, I didn't insist for 5 years, so you don't have no record of working. We can't give you a loan. So just go to show you. I don't know. You want to look at it as because he's a black man, he can't get a loan, or the fact he's a black superhero, he couldn't get a loan. So in this world they created.
Yeah, I mean, the banker even makes it out a point to say, how do you superheroes get paid? It's like, was Tony Stark fronting all of this? What happens?
Right.
Because superhero isn't an occupation. So how exactly do you get paid for it? So even if you are a superhero, how can I justify giving you a loan if you have no money?
Right, and you're not like a Tony Stark who was a businessman, and on top of that, a superhero.
Right.
And what I liked about the Winter Soldier, his character arc in that first episode, he befriended this old man who happened to be a son, whose son he actually killed on a mission.
Yeah,
and
as the Winter
like,
Soldier.
Oh man.
Yeah, so
Right.
his whole arc is him making amends for all of the wrongs he did while he was under control of Hydra.
hmm
So sort of like he's an alcoholic, and this is part of his 12 steps.
Yeah, yeah, I like that a lot. I like that a lot because that definitely touches on his backstory and like what he really did, through them years as Winter Soldier. Like we saw a little bit in Civil War when he killed Tony's parents, but that's the tip of the iceberg, really. Like, he's done a lot of crimes.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. He was their top tier assassin for quite some time.
hmm
So I'm excited to see what's the catalyst for bringing these two together and forming that whole buddy cop situation that they're building up towards.
Yeah, so I think the next episode is probably going to give a little more background, maybe some to I guess the Flag Smashers a little bit.
Right.
They're probably going to and then introduce Baron Zemo, and then by the third episode, they probably kick in high gear.
Oh yeah, definitely. And so I can imagine the first 2 episodes are going to be more of the backstory filler and the justification filler, and then because they only have 6 episodes.
Yeah, sis.
So yeah, after that second episode, they're going to be flying on all cylinders.
Yeah, because with one, I don't know I'm not sure you caught it when Anthony Mackie was talking to his army buddy when he got attacked by Flag Smashers. He's like, do you think he interrupted him somehow? He's like, do you think they're super? He's like, he shut it down real quick. So I want to know what that's going to lead into.
Right. Like I said, they got a lot of things building up. So I'm definitely excited to see where they go with it. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm not mad at all about that. Can't wait for next Friday to come around and watch the next episode.
Right. Said Marvel.
So before,
good job.
Yes, keep on, Marvel, keep on, because whew, y'all all we got.
As far as superheroes go, I mean, there's a couple other things coming along down the pipeline, but the other big major studio is doing some majorly dumb shit.
Yeah, because I'm looking forward. They are doing a Boys season 3. I'm pretty sure they're going to do a season 3 of the Umbrella Academy.
Yep.
We got Jupiter's Legacy coming out. We got Invincible coming out soon. I think that's it for superhero stuff goes. But the different takes that they have coming out, I'm really enjoying because they're not part of Marvel Universe. So it gives you a different take on superheroes and what's going on, things like that. So I'm enjoying that as well. But yeah, you go ahead and talk about Justice League because I fell asleep 3 times trying to watch it.
Right. So as the only person in this podcast who actually took the 4 hours of my life to watch that movie, I'll give a quick review because I don't want to talk too much about it, if that gives you any hint about how I felt about it. That was 4 hours of my life I am never going to get back. As I said before when we were talking about Coming to America, as long as I can enjoy the movie and I don't want my time back, that's a good movie. I wanted my time back. And I sat through the entire 4 fucking hours of that movie in one sitting. No breaks. Just powered through. And every 15 to 30 minutes, I'm looking at the time. Why is this bitch not over? It's overly long. The CGI does not look good for the budget, for the extra budget that they gave him of $70 million to finish his vision. It's long as shit. All this, the major story beats that you see in the theatrical cut of Justice League are still there because those were still Zack Snyder's scenes. The only plus that I can give about this movie was tonally it was cohesive. Beforehand, because they had to bring in another director in to do reshoots and finish this movie, you can tell the disparate parts between Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder. This one is a tonally cohesive movie from beginning to end, for better or for worse. The villain is still underdeveloped and weakish. It's stupid as shit. His motivations are never explained. Whatever. The backstory still is stupid. The underlying reason for their team up still is stupid. I mean, Batman trying to be the Nick Fury of the DC universe and recruiting everybody. Really, Justice League Unlimited did a much better version, had an alien invasion, and then all of the superheroes just organically came together because they're all fighting the alien invasion. Give me something better than trying to ape Marvel while doing it poorly. And the fact that so much of this movie was spent trying to give Cyborg a backstory and it just being so fucking boring. And you probably could have cut an hour out of this movie if you took out all the fucking slow motion. Every time somebody bent down to tie their shoe, slow motion. Which in turn made Flash's powers completely stupid looking because everything is done in slow motion and they do slow motion when they use the Flash. So you really don't even get a sense for his speed and his powers. And I don't know what tape recorder Wonder Woman had up her ass, but every time she did a goddamn thing, her theme music cut on. So she flexed her butt cheek and every fucking time she did anything, her theme music came on.
That is true. Yeah, you had to know Wonder Woman was on the scene because of her theme music.
Like you couldn't see her there. You just look around at, oh, Wonder Woman must be here. Because goddamn it, anytime she did the goddamn thing, her theme music came on.
What is that song playing? Oh, it's you again.
And they shoehorned Martian Manhunter into the movie. He did absolutely nothing. And the fact that they made him the general for Man of Steel raises super implications about the rest of the movies in this universe, about the fact that Martian Manhunter has been on Earth all this time, and he lets all this shit just fucking happen.
You know why? Because it's none of his business.
Right, but if they're going to destroy the Earth, I would think it would be his business because he's on it.
Well, yes, but it's still none of his business. He's acting like a black man then.
All in all, if you enjoyed BVS, you will like this movie. But BVS, in my opinion, was shit, and this movie is 4 hours of shit. I am so glad that now that it's over and all the hype has died down, that we can move the fuck on.
Yeah, because I've been wanting to say that there are certain parts of Batman vs Superman that I liked, and there's certain things that just didn't make sense in the movie overall. Period. Justice League was a shit show, the theatrical version, and then trying to watch this, it just took so much out of me. You know, because I fell asleep 3 times trying to watch it, and then when I woke up, I felt like I just got a surgery because I was just so drained. I'm like, why? And then the Cyborg character, the character of Cyborg is so uninteresting.
Very much so.
That even giving him a background story when he was human per se, before he turned into Cyborg, was not interesting to me at all. Him having his own solo movie was not interesting at all. Shit, even having the Flash sequel, even though you're bringing in Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck into that universe, the character overall to me is not that enjoyable.
Yeah, before you finish your thought, Ezra Miller learned how to fucking run. His run is fucking stupid and not how a human runs. Continue.
I don't think it's the actors or actresses' ability portraying these roles. I think how they've written them and what their vision of them, it just shows that they're not in touch with those characters and what they stand for.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't blame Ray Fisher at all for this, but Cyborg's monotone, unemotional, uninterested everything in this movie made him a fucking chore to watch, and then a lot of the movie focuses on him. So this stale ass performance. And granted, I don't blame Ray Fisher for it because this is what he was told to do. The director, Zack Snyder, told him to do this. The same way he told
Right.
Jesse Eisenberg to play Lex Luthor like he was a deranged dumbass. So I don't blame Ray Fisher for this. But the fact that Zack Snyder decided that I'm gonna take this uninteresting character whose acting is putting anybody who listens to him to sleep or in a fucking coma, and I'm gonna focus 70% of my movie on him. So, and the fact of the matter is, in the theatrical cut, Superman is only in the movie for 20 minutes. But that's like an hour and 45-minute movie. In this Snyder cut, Superman is only in the movie for 20 minutes, but now it's a 4-hour movie. So Superman has even less amount of a role in the movie than he did in the theatrical cut.
So 4-hour movie, 20 minutes still, and all you offer me is him in a black suit.
That's it. He's wearing black for reasons. That's never really explained, mind you. Just he's wearing black.
Right, and I like I said, and I said before, Zack Snyder probably has some good ideas on paper, but when it came to actually, put it on film, it was just like, all right, on second thought here, what does this contribute to? Like Superman in the black suit sounds great because you look at that's straight from the comics itself.
Right, Death of Superman,
Well,
Death and Rebirth of Superman.
But what does that lead to? Like, what are you showing me here? And there people been coming out, and even him setting up the story for Batman in that universe, Batman been around for 20 years. Wonder Woman been around for hundreds of years. Why is, like one producer said, like, why is it that you having an older Batman meet this young Superman? Why couldn't Batman been a little younger? You haven't been around for 20 years, but there's no other explaining of his adventures for the past 20 years. You
Right.
can't just everything's up in the air.
Wonder Woman has been in operation since World War *1, and nobody's ever heard of her. I think people would have heard of her.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to take the time, however many sittings you need to watch the movie, I would say, hold judgment for yourself. But if you had no love for this DC universe, don't watch this movie. You will want to fight Zack Snyder at any point in time that you see him. 20 years
The
from
line
now,
starts behind us.
right? 20 years from now, you're gonna see Zack Snyder in the grocery store and just walk up and smack him because this movie is that fucking bad.
Molly wop him. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to make another movie again or doesn't need to work in Hollywood, but he did really well with Watchmen for some reason.
You got to realize that all of that was just taking the comic book pages and putting it on screen. Same thing with 300. He didn't have to really think too much about what he was putting together. The rubric was already there. Justice League was a brand new thing. And I think the writer is Chris Terrio, who has done some other bullshit. And yeah, that combination of them, leave the superhero movies alone. Get the fuck away from it.
Yeah.
And that's all I got to say about that.
I didn't enjoy it, and I'm not gonna harp too much on it. So if y'all want to watch it, go ahead and you can fight with me and stuff on the comments. We can go back and forth all day. I don't care.
Oh, I definitely will if you think this is a great movie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go point for point for you why it sucks.
We here for it.
All right. So that's the show. And as always, you can check us out on YouTube, SoundCloud, Google Music Play, iTunes, and Spotify.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe. And, like I said, we'll, leave a comment. We'll talk back to you. Comment on my Instagram. And that's about it. So thanks for joining. Thanks for listening. Peace out.
Peace.